Hey everybody, welcome back to Big Hair Gaming. We're back here with another video covering our favorite game, Last War. And today we're going to be talking about hero composition and also just a general hero breakdown. So the thing that made me want to speak about this video is the other day I was going over and like grabbing my stuff from my trucks, and I saw that somebody who was around like level 25 or 26 or something had attacked one of my trucks a couple of times, like 4 times in a row or something. And I happened to check and see what their team comp was like, and it was just absolutely wild. Like, didn't make any sense. They had like tank heroes on the rear line, or rather defense heroes on the rear line. Didn't make any sense to me. And basically, it kind of gave me the idea that like maybe there are still people rocking around who have their team comp that they maybe threw together when they first started playing the game and never really paid attention to it, and just kind of put heroes wherever they wanted to with little thought into it. So I wanted to quickly go over just like kind of how that whole mechanics works, what's like the interplay between the different troop types, and how you can at least put your players on the field so that they make sense and kind of put your best foot forward. So first we'll get started with like the basic stuff. In what are the troop types that are available? So there's 3 troop types in the game. You have tanks, you have air, and you have missiles. And the way that they play together is essentially like a rock paper scissors style, wherein tanks are going to take less damage from missiles. Missiles are going to take less damage, from air, and air is going to take less damage from tanks, and that's about 20% less, as you can see written right here. The second component in your team is what your actual lineup composition is. So in the beginning, in the preseason and season, and eventually as you get closer to season 1, primarily you're going to have a lot of tank heroes, and most everybody who you come into obtaining is going to be a tank hero, and then that starts to diversify a little bit later. So a lot of what you're going to see is just 5 hero tank teams right off the rip. You do see some variation sometimes where you might have another very heavy hitter of another type who joins a team, which drops your buff down from the 20% buff to HP attack and defense down to 15%, which is still, like, depending on what your team composition, like, that can be a reasonable strategy. But that's the way that the lineup works. Primarily, what you'll usually see a lot of, because it's really straightforward and very simple, is people will have all 5 heroes be of the same team, because that boost just becomes really, really important, and it gets it gets much more impactful the more powerful your team is. So 5% when you have a 8 million power team, and not that big. 5%, a 5% difference when you have a 25 million power team, much more impactful. But that's usually what you tend to see. So then the other thing is not just the troop type, but also what role that troop fulfills. So here on your hero list, you'll see all your heroes kind of listed out, but you'll also see that they have their troop type listed in the bottom left-hand corner of their hero card, as well as the role that they fulfill in the top left-hand corner of their hero card. I'll look down here because this is when you're in like the preseason and season 1. This is the most of the heroes you're going to be looking at. It's a lot of purple stuff. So here. Up at the top, it'll tell you what that role is. The shield heroes are going to be more capable of taking damage. Those are the ones that you want on your front line, because they are basically, I use the term tanks, but in the conventional RPG sense, like, they're your tanks. Like, they're meant to soak up damage. So you want them to be ahead of everybody else in the order. Then you have your support hero, who is going to be there to basically disseminate buffs to your team. That's going to give you special stuff to like your attack or your defense or whatever. Mostly looking at their skills and how they will help. And then lastly, you have, let me see where we at. Here we go. We have like your strikers. So your strikers are going to be more capable of dealing like significant damage. And those are the folks that you want in the rear line to kind of stay in the fight as long as possible, to be protected by your tanks so that they can shoot and deal all of their special abilities and do all that kinds of stuff. And that's basically what your most common structure is going to look like for the preseason and season 1. Is you kind of have like a primary tank team. You're going to have 2 defense heroes that you want to have on your front line. For clarity, this is your front line. Your team is facing in this direction. going that way. So your front line is this guy and this guy. So you want to have your defense heroes here, and then you want to have your strikers and maybe a support as well to take that rear line. Now, some variation that I will sometimes see is that during preseason and season one, sometimes I'll see this last spot occupied by D.Va, who is an air hero, who is an air striker specifically. She's particularly powerful, and in some cases, depending on how well built your D.Va is, she might be the damage output that she provides, in addition to your other strikers, might be good enough to offset the 5% HP attack and defense that you lose out by having a four tank team versus a 5 tank team. So that's something that you have to make a call on for you relative to the rest of your heroes. For me, I like having my 5 tanks here, and you see I got a little bit more left to go in terms of maximizing what is his name, Murphy, Marshall, whichever one of those. I think it's Murphy. Marshall. Okay, yeah. Got a little bit more to go in terms of maxing him out, but yeah. Yeah, so another thing I wanted to talk about is during, preseason and season one, when do you want to kind of switch your focus away from your purple heroes over to your gold heroes? So one of the pitfalls that I think is easy to get into in the preseason is trying to grab every hero all at once. And trying to level them all up at one time. I don't think that this is particularly helpful because you can still have a very meaningful and very powerful purple hero. I forget what the ranking for these guys is called. I think it's rare, but you can still have a very powerful rare team. Especially if they have many stars and they're already tiered up. Particularly one point that you want to kind of try to drive towards is getting your individual heroes up to 4 stars, because they'll unlock their special tactics skill, which just gives them a 10% boost to basically all their stuff, their HP, their attack, and their defense. So that's going to be a really big one. Now, what I recommend is, let's say you get your Murphy. As I think if I remember correctly, he's one of the first golden heroes that becomes available for you to get. I don't remember the order anymore. It's been a little bit too long. But let's say you get your golden Murphy. What you don't want to do is you don't want to try to acquire every golden hero immediately and then level them all up evenly. It's much more valuable to you to kind of go ham on a particular vector first. I think that Murphy is the first one who becomes available. So if you were to grab him, then all of your golden hero shards can be focused towards leveling him up and getting his special skills boosted. Primarily, like I said, you want to try and push that to it's 20% for gold heroes. So 10% for the rares, 20% for legendary. But yeah, you want to try to get him up to 4 stars as quickly as you can. That's one way you can do it. What I think I did is I waited for Kim to come out because I had heard how powerful she was, and it's kind of a big deal. It's kind of up to you whether you're a defense is the best offense or offense is the best defense. I'm more in the latter camp. So I think what I did is I heavily focused on getting Kim to be as strong as I could during that preseason time. And just kind of getting her stars up. And while that was going on, I was still investing in my legendary heroes. These levels won't quite match up to where they were before because I did use my season 1 ability to swap levels, and I used that to kind of boost up my air team a little bit and swapped out the power levels. So I can't remember what other striker I had. I think I had Murphy back then because he was still a rare hero. You gain the ability to make him a legendary hero in season 1. But I had him and maybe somebody else. I'm gonna guess it was probably this guy, Richard. I don't know. He doesn't look familiar, but I had somebody. I can't remember what my early game team comp was. But at some point, once you can get your gold hero to about 2 stars, um, is a reasonable time to switch them out for a more highly leveled purple hero. So like let's say if my Violet, for example, was 4 stars, I'd probably keep her in the game. Actually, let's say maybe not Violet. Let's say this Richard guy. So let's say if my Richard is 4 stars and he's like reasonably leveled, maybe I'm level, whatever, I'm level 20 or something like that, and I have him leveled up as high as I can. I'm probably going to keep him in the game in my team until I can get Kim to about 2 stars, and then I'm going to start to swap him out. Basically, what I would then do is I'd take all of his gear that he has and I would just throw it on Kim, and I would pivot him out of my team and pivot her in, and I would just focus all my hero shards on trying to get her as high as I can. Before maybe focusing on another hero. The way that I focused on my heroes from season 1 to the end of the preseason was trying to get my legendary heroes up to 4 stars at least before changing focus to work on another legendary hero. Like I said before, the reason for that is once you get to 4 stars, you unlock their basically their percent increase ability, which is just going to grant them an extra 20% to all their stuff. And for the legendary heroes, you get that extra 10% to their cooldown as well. And that's a really big boost. So once you get there, then you can pivot to another hero. The reason I did that is just because the push to 5 stars is really big. It takes 100 hero shards to get 1/5 of the upgrade. You can see that visualized here, where I need 100 hero shards to get even just the next tier of the upgrade. So it just takes a long time. So when you're doing the cost benefit analysis, is it better to have 2 gold heroes at level 4, or is it better to have 1 gold hero at level 5 and the other one is somewhere else? For me, that calculus worked out to be that I valued having, maybe a strong frontline hero like Murphy, and trying to get him to level 4 before like dumping the hero shards in to try to get Kimberly to 5 stars. So I said level 4, but you know what I mean. 4 stars, 5 stars, that thing. But that's kind of the way that I approached it and kind of what I tried to focus on. So that's my recommendation is in the early game, try and boost up your heroes. I think having strikers be a little bit stronger is more of a focus. Definitely do level up that front line. When you have those frontline tank heroes, you want those people to be in front so that they're taking most of the damage, like we talked about. And then just try and boost up your rare level heroes as much as you can. And once you have the ability to, try and grab one of those legendary heroes. My recommendation: I'm in Kim camp, so try and get Kim early on because she's going to be a really big damage booster. And I think like dealing damage quickly and a lot of it is really helpful, especially in that early game. So if you can deal damage way faster than your opponent, usually I don't find that the battles are super long, so I don't find a big like battle of attrition. Additionally, later you also get through the hero skills for your strikers. Some of them have the ability to attack the back line directly. So having those really powerful strikers who are capable of doing that is going to help you deal damage and knock out your enemy team's strikers as well, which is why I think that having a strong striker is paramount to winning battles. But yeah, that'll bring this video to a close. I think this covers a lot of the basic fundamental stuff. Next time, what we'll get into is prioritizing your gear and that kind of stuff. What do you want to focus on? And we'll talk a little bit about like actually building up blueprints, focusing on what to focus on first, and also what gear should go on whom first. There is a little bit of a priority queue, but we'll get into that next time. But yeah, if this video helped you out, if it was valuable, I want to thank you for watching. Thanks for listening. Feel free to hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, leave a comment. If you feel like I'm off base and maybe you disagree or you had a different experience or a different strategy in the early game, do drop a comment. I'd love to hear about it. But yeah, thanks for watching. Take care. Catch you in the next one.